Hello, Radiant Leo. Let me ask you something straight from the heart. Are you truly prepared for a piece of shocking news that could completely reshape your path and light your destiny on fire? Because what's unfolding in the cosmic realm right now isn't just dramatic, it's destined. If you found your way here today, it's not just because of an algorithm or a casual scroll. It's because the universe has chosen this exact moment to get your attention. And what it's about to reveal may shake you, but only so you can rise stronger, clearer, and bolder than ever before. Feel that? That stirring beneath the surface? That flicker in your chest that says something big is coming? It is. And you, Leo, are being called to be more than a witness to your life. You're being called to ignite it. There are times when fate speaks in subtle whispers, and times when it roars. Today, it's roaring. And if you're here watching this, then you're already tuned into something powerful. Something ancient. Something that says, now is your time. Maybe you felt it, a sense of unease that won't go away, a dream that keeps replaying, or a strange sense of anticipation you can't explain. That's not coincidence. That's alignment. That's your soul trying to remember something it already knows deep down. You are standing at the edge of a breakthrough. And something hidden is about to come to light. Leo, you were never meant to dim your light just to make others comfortable. But now, the universe is asking you not just to shine, but to ignite. To prepare. To face the truth, even if it startles you, even if it shifts everything. Before we go any further, let me take a moment to express my deepest gratitude. Thank you, from the bottom of my heart, for being here. Every like you give, every comment you leave, every time you subscribe to this sacred space we call eternal mindfulness, you're not just supporting a channel, you're strengthening a community of light seekers, of soul-driven creators, of brave hearts like you. You are the reason this space exists. And your energy is part of everything we co-create. And trust me when I say, you'll want to stay with me until the very end of this video. What we're about to uncover isn't just another forecast, it's a divine alignment. A turning point that speaks directly to your heart, your courage, and your future. Now, let me ask you this: what brought you here today? Was it a sign? A feeling? A whisper you couldn't ignore? If your heart feels even a tiny spark right now, don't let it pass. Drop an angel number in the comments, any number that resonates with you. That's your way of saying, I'm open. I'm listening. I'm ready. Because Leo, what comes next is going to awaken something powerful within you. And the universe? It's ready when you are. There's a quiet moment, often unspoken, where something deep within begins to stir, not with noise or grand announcement, but with the subtle knowing that you can't keep living the way you did yesterday. For Leo, this is that moment. Not the kind marked by applause or accolades, but the kind that whispers directly to your soul, you've outgrown your old self. It's not that you were doing anything wrong. It's simply that the version of you that once sought external validation, that once measured worth in approval and performance, is no longer a match for the energy you are now being called to embody. The influence of the Moon and Mars right now is not random, it's catalytic. These planetary forces are acting like a mirror and a flame. The Moon, with its soft, reflective light, asks you to see yourself with honest eyes. Mars, bold and assertive, asks you to act with fierce intention. Together, they're offering you a sacred invitation to stop performing and start living truthfully. It's less about the noise you make in the world and more about the depth of presence you bring to each moment. Think of it like shedding a golden costume, not because it wasn't beautiful, but because your radiance no longer needs to be dressed up. The real glow now comes from something quieter but far more powerful, the inner alignment with your purpose. When you shift from seeking recognition to living with intention, everything changes. The energy around you recalibrates. Your choices become clearer. Your power more focused. And even without applause, you feel seen, by yourself, and by the universe. There's a beautiful teaching that reminds us, when the inner lamp is lit, no darkness can overcome it. You, Leo, are the lamp. You are the keeper of a sacred fire, and its brilliance is not meant to be controlled by the winds of public opinion. That inner light thrives when you move in harmony with your values, when your actions reflect your truth, not your image. And in this phase, you're being asked to stop looking outward for permission, to rise without waiting for a stage. Courage is not always loud. Sometimes, it's the silent decision to stop pretending. To honor your intuition even when others don't understand it. To say no when yes would be more pleasing. To stand still when the world urges you to chase. That's the real roar of Leo. Not the sound that fills a room, but the vibration that fills your body when you live with quiet conviction. This is the turning point where performance gives way to presence. Where charisma gives way to character. It's not a loss, it's an arrival. And you'll know you've arrived not because someone hands you a trophy, but because you'll feel it in your chest, a groundedness, a steadiness, a heat that doesn't burn out. The kind of warmth that comes from being exactly where you're meant to be, doing exactly what your soul came here to do. You don't need to be extraordinary in anyone else's eyes. You were born radiant. But now, your radiance has matured. It no longer needs a spotlight, it creates its own. So the real question is no longer, will they cheer for me? The real question is, can I honor myself, even in silence? That is the fire Mars asks you to light. That is the reflection the moon asks you to face. And that is the step forward only you can choose to take. Sometimes, the most painful part of shining is not the effort it takes to emit your light, it's witnessing how others respond when you do. For Leo, whose very nature is luminous, there comes a point when you realize your radiance may not always be met with celebration. It may trigger discomfort. It may stir envy. And in certain moments, it might even invite subtle attempts to dim or control your brilliance. But here's the truth most people won't say out loud: the discomfort others feel in your presence is not your responsibility to carry. Their shadows are not yours to solve. Imagine for a moment that you are a flame in the middle of a quiet night. Around you, the world is hushed and uncertain. The brightness you offer is not just for show, it is survival. You are warmth, clarity, direction. And yet, even in your generosity, you hear the faint buzzing of voices that don't understand your light. Whispers, criticism, projections. Like insects drawn to a lamp, they circle, they test, they distract. But their noise doesn't define your purpose. And their discomfort should not become your silence. The image of being a lamp in the night is not just poetic, it's a metaphor for what it means to hold your truth when it would be easier to shrink. You don't need to turn off your glow just because someone else isn't ready to see clearly. You don't need to tone down your essence to soothe someone else's unease. There is a deeper practice in letting your energy speak for itself, in maintaining your clarity without needing to defend it. This is where the energy of the reversed emperor enters, an archetype of misused authority and external attempts to control. This card doesn't only point outward, it invites a powerful inward reflection. Where might you have allowed distorted power to enter your space? Not through loud attacks, but through subtle shifts, through guilt, through self-doubt, through questioning your own intuition in order to keep the peace. And more importantly, where are you still giving others the right to dictate your emotional weather? From a higher perspective, this moment is not about confrontation but about sovereignty. It is not about reacting, but about reinforcing. Drawing the line doesn't mean building a wall, it means declaring where you begin and where external influence ends. True boundaries aren't aggressive. They are compassionate acts of clarity. They protect your peace, your focus, your heart. And in practicing that kind of gentle firmness, you are not becoming cold, you are becoming clear. There's a quiet discipline in being selective with your energy. In choosing when to engage and when to retreat. In understanding that silence is sometimes louder than argument. And in this space, you gain something more valuable than approval, you gain freedom. You create the conditions for your inner flame to burn without interference. One of the oldest teachings reminds us, a mountain does not need to explain its stillness to the wind. It simply stands. Likewise, you don't need to argue to prove your worth. Your energy already speaks. The invitation now is to trust that, not just in theory, but in practice. Let your presence be the answer, not your explanation. You were never meant to dim yourself just to make others more comfortable. You were meant to become so anchored in your truth that even when others misunderstand you, you remain centered. Your energy is sacred. Protect it with quiet strength. Refuse to be shaken by noise. Keep shining, not in rebellion, but in peace. Love, when it shows up quietly, has a way of lingering longer than the declarations we expect. This week, the energy around your heart is not demanding grand gestures or loud affirmations, it's inviting you inward. There is something beautifully tender unfolding beneath the surface, and for Leo, a sign known for bold affection and dramatic passion, this softness might feel unfamiliar at first. But unfamiliar doesn't mean unimportant. It often means it's real. When old connections resurface, whether as physical reunions or as memories echoing through your thoughts, it's easy to mistake their presence for fate. The heart remembers what the mind has tried to file away. But not all returns are invitations. Sometimes they're reflections. Sometimes, a person from the past reappears not to rekindle the flame, but to show you how much you've changed since it last burned. This is the essence of the Ace of Cups in your reading. The heart opens, but its openness is not a signal to leap, it's a signal to observe. To feel what arises. To ask yourself, is this healing, or is this repetition? That question alone holds power. For those in a relationship, the current energetic climate speaks to balance and breath. As a Leo, you love fiercely. Your devotion can be unwavering, your attention consuming. But fire, if left unchecked, can become overwhelming. even to those it intends to warm. Love, in its healthiest form, breathes. It creates space, not pressure. When we cling too tightly to what we cherish, we risk distorting its natural rhythm. Consider whether your intensity is giving your partner room to be, or simply demanding a performance in return. True love doesn't control, it witnesses, supports, and allows. There's also a subtle but profound shift happening for those who are single. The longing for connection is human, yes. But this week, the real question is not, why am I still alone? It's, what am I really longing for? Is it companionship, or confirmation? Is it love, or validation? The desire to be seen, chosen, admired, these are deep and understandable needs. But when they steer our search for love, we risk attracting reflections of our wounds instead of mirrors of our growth. From a deeper perspective, craving love from a place of emptiness is like planting a seed in dry soil. It may sprout, but it cannot thrive. Love rooted in wholeness, on the other hand, grows strong, even in silence. And wholeness doesn't mean perfection. It means accepting that you are already complete, that someone else can complement your path, but they are not responsible for completing it. This kind of understanding transforms how you choose, how you give, and how you receive. There's an old teaching that says, when the heart is still, its reflection becomes clear. In stillness, you see whether your desire is arising from trust or from fear. Whether it's a call towards something sacred, or just a loop that hasn't been broken yet. The Ace of Cups isn't just a promise of new love, it's an offering. A chance to pour love into the places within you that once felt unloved. It is not about who arrives next, it's about how ready you are to love without losing yourself in the process. So if something or someone pulls at your heart this week, take a breath. Don't rush toward it. Don't run from it either. Let your awareness sit beside it. Ask gently, am I choosing this from fullness, or from a hunger that was never meant to be filled by someone else? And if the answer feels unclear, that's okay. You don't need to act immediately. You only need to listen. And when you're ready, say to yourself, and maybe even in the comments below, I choose to love from fullness, not from lack. That alone is a powerful vow. There's a quiet truth we rarely speak about money. It's not just a resource, it's a mirror. The way we spend, save, or even worry about money reflects how we relate to our own energy, self-worth, and inner alignment. When we look beyond the surface, we see that money is simply one of the most tangible expressions of how we move through the world. It's not separate from our purpose, it's a tool that either amplifies or distracts from it. In the presence of the King of Pentacles, this week's energy reminds you that true wealth doesn't come from accumulation alone. It comes from integrity, consistency, and conscious intention. This archetype isn't flashy. He doesn't need to prove himself through extravagant gestures or fleeting trends. He stands grounded, rooted in the value of what he builds. That's the energy you're being invited to embody now, not just to possess wealth, but to be the kind of person wealth naturally flows to, trusts, and stays with. There's a subtle but powerful difference between spending to impress and spending to invest in your evolution. The first often leaves you temporarily elevated and quietly hollow. The second might not get applause, but it nourishes your foundation in ways that multiply. So pause and ask yourself, are your financial choices reflecting your truth, or someone else's idea of success? Are you investing in experiences and tools that support your growth, or chasing images that satisfy a momentary insecurity? Morning rituals can be gentle reminders of this alignment. Start your day by saying, "I am a channel for abundant and wise energy." Let it be more than words. Let it guide your decisions. Let it anchor you when urgency tempts you to overspend, or when fear urges you to cling. Because scarcity isn't always about numbers, it's about belief. And when belief is distorted, no amount of wealth feels like enough. You don't have to reject abundance to be humble, and you don't have to chase status to be successful. The middle path, where mindfulness and prosperity meet, is where your true Leo power shines. There's nothing small about you. Your nature is generous, expressive, and magnetic. But now the call is to bring that power inward first. To invest in the things that matter when no one is watching. In books that expand your vision. In food that supports your vitality. In movement that reconnects you to your body. In rest that resets your nervous system. In people who see your light without needing to dim it. There's a lesson echoed in many paths of wisdom. The one who knows how to govern their own energy will never be ruled by external forces. Your bank account is just one of many places where your energy either leaks or accumulates. Every transaction is a subtle affirmation of what you believe you deserve, what you prioritize, and how much you trust yourself. And when those beliefs shift, even slightly, your relationship with money transforms not through force, but through clarity. You are not chasing abundance. You are remembering that you already carry its seed within you. The King of Pentacles reminds you that you don't need to earn your worth, you simply need to embody it. So spend like someone who trusts the cycle of give and receive. Save like someone who believes in a future they're building with care. And choose like someone who knows their energy is sacred, because it is. That's the real wealth. That's what stays, multiplies, and sustains. It's easy to forget that even the brightest stars need rest. For Leo, whose natural inclination is to shine, to lead, and to inspire, there is often an unspoken pressure to always be on, to radiate energy, strength, and charisma regardless of what's happening internally. But this idea of constant brilliance is not only unrealistic, it's unsustainable. There's a quiet form of strength that comes not from pushing through exhaustion, but from honoring the ebb in your rhythm. Real resilience, after all, isn't about performance, it's about presence. You may notice lately that your inner fire feels a bit off balance, too intense at times, or flickering when you least expect it. That's not weakness. That's your body speaking the truth your mind may be too busy to hear. What you're feeling could be a call back to simplicity, to nourishment, to the practices that replenish rather than deplete. Just as fire needs the right fuel to burn cleanly, your vitality depends on conscious choices. And for a fire sign like Leo, regulating that heat, physically and emotionally, can make all the difference. This week's message is about soft power. The kind represented by the Strength card in tarot, which often depicts a figure gently calming a lion, not through force, but through quiet mastery. It's a reminder that strength isn't brute force. It's grace under pressure. It's courage without aggression. And most of all, it's the wisdom to pause and say, I need to take care of myself first. Consider the ways your daily habits may be fueling or depleting your inner balance. Are you reaching for foods that truly nourish you or simply stimulate you? Spicy, greasy, overly rich meals may seem comforting in the moment, but they can overstimulate your system, especially for a sign already governed by fire. Instead, think in terms of balance. Choose warmth over heat. Choose grounding over intensity. Let your meals be a way of tending to your inner flame, not fanning it into burnout. And beyond the physical, your energetic hygiene matters just as much. Meditation isn't just a spiritual practice, it's a practical one. Sitting quietly for even 5 minutes in the morning, visualizing yourself bathed in golden light, can reset your entire nervous system. You don't have to force your mind into stillness. Simply being present with your breath, your body, your awareness, that's enough. Over time, that stillness becomes a source of real power. The kind that doesn't scream to be noticed but speaks with quiet authority. At night, before sleep, let gratitude be your anchor. Write down 3 things, small or large, that you appreciated in your day. This simple act keeps your vibration high and shifts your focus from what's missing to what's already supporting you. Gratitude, practiced regularly, creates a feedback loop of renewal. It reminds you that life is already giving to you, even when it's subtle. All of this comes back to a deeper question, one that only you can answer. Can you love yourself, even when you're not being seen? Can you rest in your own light, without needing an audience? The desire to be witnessed is human. But the freedom to rest without explanation, that's divine discipline. When you care for yourself as tenderly as you care for others, when you allow yourself to be whole even in stillness, you become unstoppable. Not because you're always performing, but because you finally understand, you were never here to burn out. You were here to burn steady, with purpose, with clarity, with love. If you've made it here, dear Leo, take a moment to breathe into everything you've just received. You didn't arrive at this message by chance. You were called here, for a reason, for a reminder, for a reawakening. All the signs you've been sensing lately, all the feelings you couldn't quite name, they've all led you to this moment. And maybe now, just maybe, something inside you remembers, you were never meant to be small. The universe doesn't ask you to be perfect. It asks you to be present. To show up, as you are, with your fire, your fears, your hopes, and your heartbeat. You were not designed to shrink yourself into someone else's mold. You were not born to blend in. You were born to lead with light, not through dominance, but through presence. Not through noise, but through truth. The star card reminds us that the miracles we seek are not external rewards, but inner recognitions. It's the quiet joy of choosing to believe in yourself before the world does. Of giving yourself permission to start again. Of seeing beauty in your own becoming. And perhaps most importantly, of understanding that your light doesn't need to wait for approval, it only needs your trust. So let me ask you this, Leo, what would happen if you stopped holding back? If you stopped waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect version of yourself, or the perfect plan? What would open up in your life if you simply chose to say, I am enough, and I am ready? Could you allow yourself to stand fully in your power, without apology? Could you choose to live, not for applause, but for alignment? Remember, your strength is not measured by how much you push through, but by how deeply you remain grounded in your truth. Every small act of self-respect, every time you choose rest over pressure, every time you speak from your heart instead of your ego, you are rewriting your reality. And these little shifts, they become the big changes. Let this video be more than just something you watched. Let it be something you practice. Whether it's setting boundaries, opening your heart, managing your energy wisely, or simply taking 5 quiet minutes for yourself tomorrow morning, what's one thing you're willing to do differently starting now? And if something stirred in you during this journey, I'd love to hear it. Drop a comment below and tell me, what truth are you ready to live out loud? What part of you is ready to rise? And if your soul whispered, yes, even once while listening, then honor that whisper. You don't need to roar to make an impact. But you do need to show up, with intention, with love, with courage. Thank you for being here. Thank you for allowing me an eternal mindfulness to walk this path with you. Every like, every comment, every subscription deepens this sacred community we are building, one truth teller at a time. If you felt seen, if you felt supported, share this video with another Leo who might need to hear what you just did. Because the more we shine together, the less anyone has to dim. You already hold the light. You've always held it. The only question left is, are you ready to let it lead you forward?